Oh, I am live. All right, all right. I hope how everybody's doing. All right, so I'm just going to make sure my braids are straight. Here we go. All right, good evening, everybody. And if you're watching it on the replay, welcome, welcome, welcome. Don't forget to hit turn on your notifications and like and subscribe. So, welcome to 15 Minutes with Veronica. Now, this is just a segment where I answer questions. Hey, girl, hey. This is just a segment where I answer questions. The reason I started 15 Minutes with Veronica is because I would get so many people contacting me, asking me questions, asking me for advice, and all of the things. And I'm like, look, let me just put it all in one place so that way I can answer questions, give recommendations because I do not give advice, right? Oh, and hit the like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Oh my goodness. So I decided to put it all here so that way it could be a one stop shop. So I welcome you. Thank you for joining me. And I am ready to get this cracking. Wait, before we start, before you start, let me show y'all something. Look at this. Look what Mr. Higgins got me. Isn't that pretty? It got like a V in the middle. And so I'm like, okay, Mr. Higgins, do your thing. Look at that. And it's my business colors. You know what? You know what? Aren't they beautiful? Yes. I hit the jackpot. I hit the jackpot with that one right there. But I hope everyone's week has been good. I hope y'all staying safe because it's raining here in California. Hope y'all are staying safe, staying dry, and staying off the roads. Because some people, y'all don't know how to drive when it's raining, right? So last week, I'm gonna share this with y'all. Last week, we were going, yes, attention to detail. I love that man. I was getting ready to start, go live, get ready for y'all, but I had to go to the ER. So if you don't know, I'm a professional faller. I am clumsy as hell. So I am a professional faller. Long story short, I sprained my foot, right? And I had to take off work all last week. And so that is why we were not live last week because your girl was icing, elevating, and medicated. But we are here today, and I am, look, you already understand, Carmen. You already understand the struggle. So I am back right now. So what we're gonna do is, I know initially I called it 15 minutes with Veronica, and then a few people told me like you're gonna have to make it longer. I'm still gonna keep the name 15 minutes with Veronica, but it may be 15, it may be 20, it won't go past 30. All right. But we will do what it do. Like hit the like button. Show me some love. Show me some heart. Let's get this energy going. And then we're gonna go right into the first question. And so all these questions are from individuals who submitted it via text, via DM, or via Instagram when I put up the post, like ask me a question. So what I'm going to do is all questions are selected at random. Okay. So let's pull the first question and let's get it started. Let's get it cracking. All right. So here we go. Let's see. First question. And I some of y'all questions, I'm like, but I'm a fair person, so I'm gonna put them all in the jar. But some of y'all questions, I'm like, what are we doing here? Oh wow. Well, oh, this will be the first one, but I'm gonna answer it. All right. It says I saw and I'll be trying to correct some people grammar. It says I saw on your IG you lost your son. Are you okay? I am good today. Yes, I lost my son back in 2022. It's going to be almost 2 years. I lost my baby, my oldest son, to gun violence. here in the community. I am okay. I got a great village of people, a wonderful husband, a great therapist. So, yes, I am okay. And whoever submitted that, thank you for asking, am I okay? It always feels good for people to check up on you, right? So let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. So whoever submitted that, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Let's see what this one is. All right. I hope the person who sent this one in, I hope they pop in. How should one approach their mental health diagnosis? So the question is, how should one approach their mental health diagnosis? This is a great question. This is a great question because a lot of times, a lot of people's fear is being diagnosed, right? And being othered or stigmatized. And I always, as a therapist, I always encourage people to take it, receive it, and do with it what they feel comfortable, right? I say your diagnosis is just a guide of symptoms, and for us to be able to help you create some interventions, help you feel better, whatever feel better is for you. It's not up to me what feel better is. It is up to you. When I work with clients, right? You when I diagnosis is, right? Some therapists do not do that. I share my clients what the diagnosis is, right? I feel like they should be informed. It is their health record, it is their medical information. So I'm gonna share with you what your diagnosis is. But then I do this. I sit with them, and sometimes, for instance, when I do a test for depression, and when the person has to take the test themselves, and I score it based on their answers. And a lot of people are like, I didn't know I was depressed, right? Because a lot of people think depression is just crying and just lying in bed. Yeah, that's some of the symptoms, right? But it could also be irritability. Some people who are depressed is externalizes anger, right? It could be like a low mood where you just feel blah, right? It could be inability to concentrate. It can be low motivation. So guess what? You're not doing good at work. You're not doing good at school. You're not following through on tasks, right? And so when I give someone a diagnosis, I always tell them, let's focus on the symptoms. How can we help you navigate the symptoms, right? How can we help you feel better wherever that is for you? So I always ask my clients after I get them a diagnosis, I'm like, what is your goal for therapy? What is your goal for treatment? Right. And so, based on what the treatment plan is for them, that is what guides our interactions, right? Yes, managing symptoms. I always tell individuals we are looking to either improve or reduce. If we're looking to improve, right, your mood, what can we do to do that? What are the things that we can do to get you going, get you energized, right? Or if we're looking to reduce the instances of you being in bed, right? So we'll look at, hey, if you were in bed for 7 days, but this week you were in bed for five, that's a win. A win is a win, right? So we look at how do we help you navigate your symptoms in order to find yourself in a better state of functioning. So for the person who submitted, how should I approach my mental health diagnosis? Work with your therapist, right, to create a plan for your treatment. If you don't agree with the diagnosis, go get a second opinion, right? It's okay to go get a second opinion. And the reason why I encourage people to be advocates for their self and for their health is because you want to make sure that you're getting the best care, right? And sometimes as therapists we work with other people and they might diagnose the client differently. For instance, I would work with a psychiatrist. So if my client needs medication support, I refer them to the psychiatrist who's part of our department, right? Now, if the psychiatrist does an assessment and it's something different for what I assess the client for, I'll have a conversation with the psychiatrist because I want to know what you saw that gave this client this diagnosis. For instance, we do have a lot of times where black and brown folks, particularly black folks, are diagnosed with certain personality disorders, right? And so, especially after one meeting. So, what I one time I had a client, and of course, I diagnosed this client with PTSD and depression, right? I sent them to the psychiatrist for medication support because they had suicidal ideation, right? And the psychiatrist diagnosed them with borderline personality disorder, right? So that's fine, but they made it the primary diagnosis, and then the client absorbed that. The client was like, "Oh, well, if they say that's what's wrong with me, then that's what's wrong." And I sat with the client and I said, "Well, I said, okay, well, I will advocate for you and I will go and ask why." And the reason why I advocated for the client with this personality disorder, because guess what? If a person has been suffer from PTSD or have trauma, it can cause borderline personality disorder. So borderline personality disorder should not have been the first diagnosis, should not have been their primary, right? Because if we treat the post-traumatic stress disorder, then the borderline personality disorder can also get be treated as well. So always approach your mental health diagnosis with questions. Ask your therapist, well, what do you recommend? And if you don't agree with your therapist, have conversations. If you don't agree with the diagnosis, right, then go and get a second opinion, right? So if you have been diagnosed with something and you don't know what it is, or you don't like the diagnosis, right, go get a second opinion. It is your care, it is your mental health. All right. So, yes, never let that be your final call. So, approach your mental health diagnosis with care, with questions, with curiosity. All right. Be involved in your treatment. If you don't agree with somebody, then don't agree with them. Do what you got to do. All right. All right. And ask questions. Ask questions. And I always say, get a second opinion. All right. All right, let's go to the next question. I just pulled out the jar. Uh okay, this is a good one. How did you start your business? I want to start one and don't know where to start. I know I'm reading that like I don't know how to read. How did you start your business? I want to start one and don't know where to start. How did I start my business? Started my business because I'm the Lulu. So I started my business back in 2016 with just a DBA and a dream. I had to figure out what I wanted to do, what my goal was, and how would I actualize that goal, right? And this is back in 2016 when I started my business, VCH Prosperity Consultant. And I got my DBA with the state of California. I got an email address. I had my Gmail. And I had a dream and I was contacting people. People were contacting me. I started off doing business coaching. I was helping people with resumes, doing grant writing, all of those things. And I realized I hated it because people were still coming to me with life stuff. So that's when I went over into life coaching, personal development, and then now mental health consultant. So if you want to start a business, first figure out your why, then determine who is your target demographic. How will you reach that demographic? How will you provide services for that demographic? Please register your business. Everyone do not need to start with an LLC, especially here in California, because they charge you $800 a year just to have an LLC, right? But do have, if you can't afford like someone to do your website and stuff, Canva has where you can do websites, Squarespace, right? If you want a professional email, Gmail has a business suite, right? Use that, right? You don't have to spend a lot of money to start your business. And as your business expand, then you grow things out. As my business expanded, I went to Deja Designs and they created my logo, built my website, all of my systems management. They helped me with that. But that's after I had been in business for a while. So get your DBA, right? Don't jump to an LLC. Do not jump to an LLC. Get your DBA. Get a business bank account because your business money has to be separate from your personal money. I'm learning a lot about money and business, right? Figure out how you're going to market yourself. Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, even TikTok are great ways to market your business, right? Pass out your card or get a digital card because a lot of us now we have the digital one where people can just scan it, and then go for it. If you have a dream, if you have a vision, go for it. I do recommend visiting Innovative Entrepreneur Hub. They helped me when I was ready to scale my business and start my other business. So go to Innovative Entrepreneurs Hub and they will help you start your business. Then once you start your business, go over to Deja Designs. They will create your logo, build out your website, all of the things. Okay. So, and just go for it. Remember, your family and friends are not your target demographic. Target demographic. They're not. So if your family and friends, don't expect them to be your customers. So what you can do is have them help you find your customer. I see a lot of times people post on social media, oh, your family and friends, if they don't support you, blah, blah, they're not your target market. Ask them to help you find your target market. And it's Innovative Entrepreneurs with an S Hub. And then Deja Design, if you're watching this on a replay, they can put their website in the chat, because I think folks are trying to tell them put it in the chat, but I don't know what they doing. So yes, yes. Okay, let's go to the last question. Bam. Okay. Bam. Okay. And if any of you in the chat, if you have a question that you want to ask, go ahead and put it in. I'll take a free for all right now. How do you, I think, juggle? Okay, how do you juggle all the things: marriage, parenting, business, friends, community? How do you juggle all the things: marriage, parenting, business, friends, and community? Okay, I don't. I don't juggle all those things. They juggle me. I always tell individuals, people talk about like work life balance, right? And work life balance is all about prioritizing what is important at that moment, right? We are not Libras. We do not have scales. It's hard to balance things. So you might have to prioritize family over work. You might have to do community stuff before you do your business, right? And I saw someone call me Lilith, but I'm gonna act like I didn't hear them. So the key is, right, making sure you are prioritizing things based on what needs to be prioritized. And also making sure that you are blacking out days where you don't do anything, that you have your hard stop days, right? Which means like you are guaranteed to stop at 7, right? Like you're not up to 2 a.m. I'm not about that grind all night. Now, if I find myself stuck in a loop working on something, Mr. Higgins will come in here and ask me, am I going to bed? So to me, that's his nice way of saying, wrap it up. Remember Dave Chappelle, wrap it up. Wrap it up. So yeah, so you have to figure out what is important right now this week. And I use this ABC method of prioritizing tasks. So my A column is things that needs to be done within the next 7 days. My B column are things that need to be done within the next 2 weeks. And then my C column are things that need to be done within the next 30 to 45 days. And so what I do is that is how I prioritize tasks and making sure that nothing gets delayed or left behind. right? And that includes family stuff, community stuff, stuff for myself. All of those things go on the board, and then I move things around. So if I complete something in A, I move something from B over to A. So that has been a great strategy for me and my ADHD brain. So don't focus on trying to balance. Always focus on prioritizing. And at the end of the day, you always prioritize yourself over everything, because if you're not well, all of that other stuff is not going to be good. Uh, what is your goal with Hood and Holistic? What? Oh, I should not have taken these random questions because what is my goal with Hood and Holistic? So my goal with this page that I started in 2020. The goal of Hood Holistic is just to bring a more casual, authentic, casual, authentic approach, right, to wellness, right, especially for wellness for people from underserved communities like Compton, or people who may be Black or women, whatever, right? So when I started Hood and Holistic, someone started calling me the Hood Healer. I swear to you, someone started calling me the Hood Healer. And I was like, no, I'm a little bit holistic and a little bit of hood. So that's how I came up with Hood and Holistic. So what that means is that I'm not watering down myself to provide care for people. I'm not watering down myself to provide information for people, right? It is about being your authentic self. Yes, I am from the hood, and I would never ever deny it, right? But that does not fully define me. I am still a person who believes in mental health, mental wellness, emotional stability, all of the things. So I am Hood and Holistic. It's the duality of existing in your authenticity. So my goal is to share this information with whoever it is meant for, whoever is listening, whether it's 3,000 or 3, right? Whoever is there is the person that needs to receive the message. And when I started this channel, I'm gonna ignore you, Kareem. When I started this channel, it was, I swear to you all, people are emailing me, texting me, or sending me DMs, and I felt like this would be the easiest way to address a lot of questions that I get. So 15 minutes with Veronica will be the live, but then I also am curating short videos on topics that people send to me, right? So we will have mental health and wellness focused topics also on the playlist. So that is the goal of Huda Holistic, to share wellness with the authentic perspective and twist on it. Uh, wait, if you, oh, when it is going to be linked in the show notes. So it's www.prospervch.com. If you find yourself in the middle of an anxiety attack, or what are some things to do to get out of it? This is a great question, because anxiety attacks are scary because you never know when it's going to happen, right? Until it's happening. So, if you find that you're experiencing an anxiety attack, right? The first thing I always recommend is distract yourself. Use categories, right? So, what does that mean? Let's say your body is in the midst, your chest feels tight, your palms are sweaty, you feel like you can't breathe, right? Feel like these are closing in on you. You want to disrupt that train of thought. So what you want to do is categories. So you might want to look around the room like, okay, what are all the blue things that I see? How many men are in the room? So you counting the men, right? How many chairs do I see? Count the chairs. For some people, I say do this and add some stimulation to it. So while you're doing it, rub your hands together. 5 chairs, 3 windows, right? Because what it does, it disrupts that train that you're in, that loop that you're in, and brings your focus back to the present moment, right? And a lot of times you do want to breathe, right? But sometimes you have to calm yourself down. You can use categories, or you can, if it makes it easier, do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 things I can hear, 4 things I can see, 3 things I can taste, 2 things I can smell, 1 thing I can touch. right? So, and then you just go through the categories, right? A lot of people that I deal with have a lot of social anxiety or anxiety in general. It's all about bringing your awareness back to the present moment. If you can disrupt the anxious presentation in the moment, it gives you enough time for you to regulate yourself through breathing, through touch, right? And bring yourself back to the moment. Or sometimes you can tell yourself, I am okay. I am relaxed. I am safe. I know where I am. I know what I'm doing. I feel present. So it's all about disrupting what you're experiencing in that moment. Sometimes you might have to sit down, right? There's no rush. So count, touch if you want, right? And that brings your awareness back to the present moment. Okay. Yes, how many plants do you see? How many times did the cat jump over the couch? Uh, how, and that was a great question. Thank you, Carmen. Uh, how do you de escalate a misunderstanding with your partner? I was about to say something smart because the person asked the question. Okay, how do you de escalate? Sometimes, so I'm currently working with a client who's having a situation with their partner. Um, and when you are in a discussion with a partner, things could get very heated, right? It could get very emotional. People talk over each other, right? Everyone wants to be heard, no one's listening, right? If you feel that you all are not listening to each other, I always recommend take a break. Like let's put a pin on it and come back to it in 20 minutes or come back to it in an hour. Because if you're emotionally escalated, nothing that's being said is going to be heard. So say hey, and maybe have a code word. Say hey, I'm throwing in the blue rag. Why did I say blue? I didn't mean to say blue. Yes, I did. Okay, hey, I'm throwing in the blue rag. Or can we pause for a moment, right? Or let's come back to let's can we revisit this? Um, a lot of times conversations is over topics, and sometimes you have to agree to disagree. I know me and Mr. Higgins don't always see eye to eye on things, but we do learn how to say, you know what, let's just change the topic because we're not seeing eye to eye on this, or we're not going to agree with this, and then we move forward. Or if we are talking, we feel like the other person is not listening, you know what, can I finish my statement? Right? Can you give me a moment? It's all about the way you are engaging with your partner to de escalate the situation. I want when you're, the focus should be understanding and not explaining, if that makes sense. A lot of times people want to explain their part, right? That is fine. But are you also open to seeking to understand your partner? Are you seeking to understand their perspective? Are you seeking to figure out how can we make sure this doesn't happen again, or that we're on the same page, or how can we compromise? And sometimes that might mean taking a break. Take a break. You do not have to stay in a heated argument or a heated discussion. Be okay with taking a break. A lot of people want to see it through. Sometimes seeing it through make things worse. So take a break. Like, know what? I don't feel like talking about this right now. Can we come back to this in the morning after we slept on it? Right? Because what happens, you come back, you are calm, and now you have time to actually engage in a dialogue with your partner and come to a healthy understanding or a healthy compromise, if that makes sense. But it's all about, sometimes you take that L even in a W. Let me look at these flowers again. Cause I think Mr. Higgins meant that in the pot. You do, you do. Sometimes you do take that L, even in, because you don't always have to be right. You just want to make sure that you're understood, if that makes sense. And this is why it's important for people to have emotional intelligence, because when you have emotional intelligence and understanding your partner's love language. But if the okay, see, but listen, sometimes that okay can make things work. Agree to disagree. Say, hey, I don't think we're going to agree on this. Let's not talk about it. What you think is what you think. What I think is what I think. This is why emotional intelligence is important, because emotional intelligence puts you in a perspective to be able to regulate yourself and also pick up on the nonverbal social cues of the person that you're interacting with, right? And you're able to make decisions or engage in dialogue that aligns with being empathetic and understanding the individual, right? And then also, when we're looking at dialogue, you don't always have to use a lot of words to get to the point, right? So I always think it's just best to meet your partner where they are, agree to disagree. But if it's a serious matter regarding money or raising children or things like that, you will have to sit down, probably write things out, and then come back to the table with that. And also know your partner's love language. A lot of times people don't know their partner's love language. So that also can cause a rift in the way they're interacting. So find out your partner's love language and agree to disagree. And if it's a very important topic about like money or religion or things like that, that needs to be discussed. So maybe write it out, bullet point it, and present it to each other, right, in a neutral space. Maybe go to a coffee house, maybe go to the park. Because certain conversations are uncomfortable, but you have to have them so that way you and your partner are on the same page. So I really recommend that when you are not in a heated discussion, you and your partner come up with the fair fighting rules for your relationship and then use those to guide the tough conversation in the dialogue. All right. I hope that answered your question, Kareem. Okay, let me go to this last question in the chat in the comments. How do I support someone who is socially isolated? Uh, I'm in a tough situation where someone's constantly in crisis and expects me to drop everything, but I can't. Are they a partner or a friend or a family member? I think this also would dictate how to navigate this one. When people are socially isolated, so I'm assuming that when you say socially isolated, are they an introvert? Do they not have anyone else as a support system? Can you provide some clarifying information for me, please, for the person who posted the question? Because that can also determine uh, ways to support them. So if someone is socially isolated, meaning that you're the only support person because they don't engage with other people, right? And if they're always in crisis and expect you to drop everything for them, this is where you have to do the tough conversation and set boundaries and then put it back on them, right? Uh, so the reason why I say that is if someone is always in crisis, right? You can say to them, they have chased away their support. So this is what you say to them, right? You know what? I know you need me to help you, but let's look at some ways or some strategies or some things you can do the next time you're in crisis, before you call me or before I come over, right? And then you want to reflect it back. So let's say you're on the phone with them, and every time you're on the phone with them, something wrong. Well, what do you think you should do? What's worked for you in the past? Hmm, that's interesting. What would you have done differently? What will you do differently next time? Right? Or have the tough conversation like, I really care about you and I really want to see you do well. But we have to look at ways for you to manage things that doesn't require me to always be here. So this is where you have to set the boundary, because if you wasn't there, what would they do? So also we have to look at ourselves, because if we always come running, we don't give them an opportunity to problem solve for themselves. You can lie, say, hey, you know what? I cannot make it over there right now. Yes, I understand. I know this is tough for you. I can't make it over there right now. So what do you think you can do Since I can't come over there, who you think you can call? And I know you said they don't have no support system, but they got somebody else that they're calling besides you. You might be the only person running over there. How? What other way can I support you that doesn't require me to come over? So you're going to have to start to put it back on them to encourage them to problem solve for themselves. Well, what have you done right now? Because I can't come right now. So what are you doing? What have you done? So now you have to encourage them to start to think for themselves. And they might have, we'll talk about this later on in a longer video, attachment style. Whatever their attachment style is, it is showing up in their interaction with you, right? And you have to set the boundary. And unless they are truly in crisis, right, do not run over there all the time. Yes, I do have a link for the love language test quiz. I will put it in the chat before I end the live. So for the two-ton 21, two-ton like that, put it back on now. Well, what are you going to do? What have you thought about? I cannot make it. No, I cannot. I understand you need me. I cannot come right now, right? I'll check in on you tomorrow. I'll check on you in a couple of days. Because you're going to force them to start to figure it out on their own. If they are in crisis, tell them call 911. If they're harm to themselves, tell them call 988. But if they are suicidal, I don't recommend ignoring them. But if it's just that everything is a big thing for them, then I do recommend encouraging them to figure out ways to problem solve and support them in that. You don't always have to drop things to go over there. Uh, and let me know if that was clarification enough for you. And if not, I will add some more information. But let me know if that's something you think you could try or that you can do. Setting boundaries are so important in relationship, especially with people who are draining or who are emotionally overwhelming. You have to set the boundary and encourage them to problem solve for themselves if they are not a danger to themselves, right? So I do encourage you to encourage this person to figure it out. Um, but we want to say it in a loving way. Hey, I know you can figure this out. I know you know what to do. You want to empower them. Let's see. What's the difference? The different. Okay, Kareem, were you asking a question or giving a statement? Know the difference between what was the intent and what was the experience? The intent and the experience. Yeah. Well, you know what? I always tell people intent does not negate the way the person experienced it. You may not have intended to harm. That does not mean you did not cause harm. So, yeah, that is a great statement. But I always tell people you may not intend to harm or offend. That does not mean that no offense or harm was caused. And if a person says, you know what, you hurt my feelings, or that was offensive what you said, and even if it wasn't your intent, you could always say, you know what, my intent was not to harm, right? And I understand that this hurt you, right? But that was not my intent. And if they still feel harmed, you did your part, right? And allow just to be validate that that's how they feel, even though that is not what you meant. So we do want to validate people's experience, even if our intent was not to harm or cause a hurtful experience. Wordplay can be very tricky. And I always tell people you have to also think about what perspective the person is coming from. If you are in a heated argument and you say something, the person is already emotionally escalated, so they may not be able to separate the intent from what you understand what I'm saying? Because emotions are high. Their body is in this high alert. Their brain is going. They may not be able to receive it. So it's always good to just validate their experience. You know what? I'm sorry. That's not my intent, and I understand that that caused you harm. And I see that. And exactly, Kyle. That's why you say give me some space. The goal is never to harm. So today we want to look at healthy boundaries, active listening, empathetic conversation, right? Learning to take a step back disruptive anxious thoughts with counting categories, right? Touch, right? All of the things. And these are the things that you can do to help navigate your wellness and keep it hood and holistic. All right, y'all. So we will wrap this up. I appreciate you all for coming out. I'm trying to see if I can I will put the love language quiz and an attachment style quiz in the chat after the video ends. So you can always come back and look at it. And the love language quiz that I share with you is also for your kids. So you can send the link to your kids, allow them to take it. So that way you know what your children's love language is. Send it to your partner. They even have one for friends now. So let's just look at people's love language and set healthy boundaries, right? And check in with yourself and know how to prioritize tasks, right? Take everything day by day. And if you keep it hood and you keep it holistic, you will figure out the best way to navigate your wellness so that way you can take care of yourself. All right. Y'all be safe, and I'll see y'all next week.